off in Southampton, and the first Pecha Kucha we did, Les did an absolutely brilliant Pecha Kucha, and the rest of us really kind of fluffed it. Right? So I'm really glad. And Professor Carr, with his nice shiny new award.
I've just become them rather than us. That's what's happened. Oh, right, that was the introduction, was it? Right. I did practice this. I didn't realize until this morning it was a Pecha Kucha, not a short talk. And when I practiced it, it came out at 45 minutes. So when I was a postgrad, I was delighted to discover those stacks in the library which have little windy things, so you can fit loads and loads of stuff in a small space, and you can decide what you get to, what you have access to, under what conditions. And this talk is all about the power, who has the power about deciding that and who doesn't. And the context is universities. They're some of the most ancient social institutions in the world, and they predate the existence of the countries and the states that they exist in, and they get that way by being very, very conservative and sustainable, unlike the technology and the research that they do. So who knows, who can see where this is? There's the lake up there. It's Switzerland, that's right. It's CERN. You've got the mountains at the back. And what you've got going on at CERN is nuclear research, some really high-powered research, looking at trying to plumb understanding about the creation of the universe. This is, of course, Large Hadron Collider, again, looking at some of the really fundamental understanding about our existence. But of course, it's not uncontroversial. Do you remember these rather alarmist headlines that took place? People were desperately worried that something would escape from CERN and swallow up the whole of our world. And what they ignored was the fact that had already happened. 10 years previously, the web escaped from CERN through physics departments and research institutions, and then into research companies, and then into retail and banking and government and entertainment and all over the world. And people suddenly started adopting this stuff that was designed for physicists to collaborate together in the open. And suddenly it just took over. Now, it wasn't the first time that people had tried to do this. So in the 1920s, you had Paul Ottley inventing the Mundaneum, an environment that looked very much like Google, except you telephoned a human operator to go and look up something in an index using a wonderful new piece of technology, not the computer, but the library card, and looking up this huge index of facts and knowledge on a stack of library cards, and creating an environment that looked very familiar to us today. So different technologies come along in the last 100 years to try and help people create what they thought was a web. H.G. Wells, whom you may be familiar with as a science fiction author, in fact wrote a treatise about encyclopedism, and he proposed something called the world brain to use microphotography, microfiche, to try and create a collection of all the research in the world. Vannevar Bush, similarly, at the other end of the Second World War, tried to do that, but with what we now think of as hypertext links to connect it all together to enable multidisciplinarity. So people have been doing this, people have been trying to create a web, and we eventually got one at the end of the 20th century, and it escaped from CERN and took all the properties of academia, inflated out into the whole world very, very quickly to dominate the world with ideas like openness, and not worrying about identity and intellectual property and theft and all the bad things that could happen, because that doesn't happen in academia. So 10 years later, some head-scratchy academics kind of went, oh, web, science, scholarly publishing, we could create this thing called open access. They defined it in Hungary, and so we got open access. And this idea of opening knowledge opening the door to knowledge, open access to research publications, open access to research data, open science, open educational resources, open government data. All sorts of things started happening. New kinds of value. What are you doing? But of course it doesn't suit everybody because not everybody looks like a physicist. And so, here's the signing of the Magna Carta. You've got the king, you've got the barons. The king wants things that don't concern the barons. The barons want things that are in opposition to the king. And we have the academy. We've got commercial interests. And so we're at loggerheads. Right? There are genuine tensions. As academics, sort of openness pulls in one direction and commercial sustainability pulls in the other direction. And people don't know which side to join into. And it is a genuine problem. There are genuine tensions. There are genuine interests. The guy I blame, Robert Maxwell, perhaps, sort of the father of the idea that you can create private value in private traded goods out of open intellectual property, the open knowledge that we create, and has sort of set in train many of the problems that we face. Why do we need openness? Why is it such a powerful thing? Why must we argue for it? What's the capital of France? That's just a fact. We publish hundreds of facts in all these journals. We need to build a complex network of these and understand it, put it in place so we can have understanding, and we can learn rules, and we can have evaluation and synthesis. We can do all these things. The web provides that for us because it's a piece of technology that changes our practice, and the practice makes us change the web technology, which informs our practice, allows us to build new kinds of science. But if we shackle those hands, saying, no, you're not allowed to do that, because there are commercial interests and they put contracts on us, you can't do that, that spoils the whole thing. Now, the underlying thing that guides us, our strategy, our mission statements, we're going to improve the world through our research. We need more knowledge, and we need to share that knowledge. That's why we're all in it for open access. But we've achieved this ridiculous balancing act where we're trying to balance the needs of the commercial sector with the benefits of the web and the benefits of research, and we've come to this wrong and ridiculous balance, Finch, etc. And we need to think again about the hegemonic and about the subaltern aspect. Whose side are you on? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I need that bit. Okay. Last one of the day, then we'll do a quick QA with Scott and Les, and then we will have a coffee break and I'll tell you about voting. Off you go, sir.
Okay. Right, this is a fairly light bit of advertising, basically. I work largely with special collections up at the library, and really I just want to let you know that we do have images out there. I'm going to talk largely about what we're currently doing, but also about what we're working on and what we're going to do in the future. We've got a lot of different types of collections. Our bread and butter is the what we call the CRC, the Centre for Research Collections Images, which are usually readers' orders. They're pages of a book, sometimes they're project-based. Few other things, and we've also got these sort of dynamic self-controlled collections which are largely done in DSpace. The photography stage is where this all begins. We've got a £28,000 Hasselblad camera, so somebody must think this is a valuable service. The photographers work in generating large master files of 300 meg, making crops, derivatives, and embedding metadata into the items. Our repository is called Luna. This is built in California. It's not open source, but it's highly configurable, and we have done so. Its main selling point is high resolution compression using JPEG 2000 tiling and compression, and it's also got Lucene indexing, facet searching, and that sort of thing. Interesting workflow. Basically, at the moment it's complicated because we're working through a thing called Vernon, which is a collection management system. We're trying to get away from all these bits and just work off one DAMS, one digital asset management system, which basically does all the kind of internal workings and interfacing to our image server where the masters are and up in the Luna repository. Everything this camera takes basically goes into the collection, not all of it public. And because of this, we realised that the collection management system is no good to us because we've got so much stuff that's born digital that effectively you can't apply it in the way that our system expected us to, which was objects and images. Metadata is in VRA. It's applied in skeleton form by the photographers. We badly need a dedicated cataloger, which we don't currently have. But we do have a cataloguing module in Luna, and we're looking at crowdsourcing and things like that as well to enrich our metadata. The discovery of the images is obviously very important, getting the images out there and getting them known. And also, we've got a number of ways of doing this, but it's very important, I think, that we can pull the user back to the original record in Luna through these other systems. One of the ways we do this is using OAI harvesting, of course. We've used the Europeana service to get our musical instruments out in the thing called the MIMO project, which was quite successful. And our next step is the Europeana Cloud project, which is taking all of our CRC images, which is about 14,000 of. We've also got the inevitable Flickr interface, which is a quick win, but it's great for getting traffic back, getting things tagged, getting things into groups. And we've worked out a wee API using the Flickr App Garden to enable us to pull things into Flickr from the main store at the touch of a button. So it's all nicely linked together. We've also got these book reader objects, which are something else we can do within Luna. These are quite gimmicky, obviously, but they're a great way to sort of let folk know that your stuff there is there. It's page-turning software. We have to compress it quite far for performance's sake, but we've always got a link back to the really high-res images as well. The Luna Commons is a federated view of all willing Luna partners, and we're getting our stuff into that this quarter. There's an argument that it benefits Luna more than it benefits us, but we're looking at getting a UK Commons group together because we do work quite closely with other UK partners. A lot of you might know this guy if you're Scottish. This is reporting. Google Analytics is fairly important to us, obviously, as for all these people. We've been working on visualization pages so that we can, using the Google Analytics PHP API, to be able to pull back information about page views and traffics and all the rest of it. Okay, so that's what we've done. Things that are coming up. There's a lot of antiquated processes within the images. The ordering is still paper-based. That's why this guy's at a postbox. There's also payments done over the phone. There's processing in Excel, and we're working hard to get one system, as I say, that can pull all of these things together and resolve that. It's early days for us in digital preservation, but within the department there's a big push at the moment, and we're trying to get into the thick of that. There are things that we do okay, things like archiving, embedding metadata into TIFFs, and using widespread file formats, but there are things like checksums and things like that we still could do more on and work on a policy. Our DSpace collections, I was talking earlier on, slightly more kind of dynamic kind of collections than the high-end ones. Thanks to my esteemed boss up there, we have a PHP and Solar tool called Skylight, which we can skin on the front of the DSpace front end to make collections distinguishable and distinct. E-commerce is also something that Luna is trying to push, although it's not available within the system itself. You need something around it. So we've built a checkout system beside that, which can process Luna images. Their original partner for this went bust, so we're actually stuck having to do it ourselves. Slightly ironic that I'm advertising Luna with a NASA picture, but the next version is going to be more manageable, more scalable, and definitely faster. It's also all going to be web-based, so we're getting away from having a lot of freestanding clients on your desktop, which is good. And then into the future, the next steps, things like better visualizations of the data that we've got, I think very important. More mass digitisation of special collections stuff, links to other systems such as Voyager, their library catalogue, and better authority control are all things that we're sort of looking at just now that we need to do. Okay, I'll not say any more just now. All the images in this presentation were obviously part of the collections, and if you get any questions, that's where to find them. Okay.
Thank you very much. If I can get Les to come back down, we'll do a quick Q&A before we go to coffee. As Les is walking down, please remember we do vote on these. So Peter will be number 1, Matt was number 2. This was the order that they presented in. Seb was number 3. Peter was number 1. Printed first. 4. All right then. We'll do a quick Q&A. We'll go for coffee. Then please come back, because we'll have the developer challenge results, and then the closing. So Q&A, but please speak into the microphone, because I got shouted at a minute ago.
A question for both of you, because the idea of commercialization came up in both your talks, and Angus brought it up in the roundtable, kind of scaring me about the idea of institutional repositories needing to think about commercial value of things in there, or do we need to start buying and selling, or can we just continue on the pure open access route?
I have absolutely no problem with publishers making an enormous pile of money out of universities. Nor do I have a problem with repositories trying to monetize things. What I have a problem with is barriers. So people adding value and creating new kinds of value, that's one thing. But people artificially creating, business models that artificially create value by artificially creating scarcity, that's the thing that I have a problem with. So I know that people sort of have all sorts of motivations for wanting open access, and the budget problem is a real problem. As a researcher, my big beef is not that I can't afford the literature, it's that I'm not allowed to either see it or use it for data mining or use it for whatever purposes I'm supposed to be using it for. I think if you can make coffee tables, do what Cory Doctorow does. If you can sort of make money by creating limited edition coffee table books which are hand signed by Professor so by all the famous people in your team, and if that's going to make you money, that's fine. Just don't stop people reading the research and building on it and being able to get sort of academic value out of it.
And particularly for you, because you mentioned the high resolution images that you sell, is there a business model you've got a handle on with that, or is it more ad hoc?
I think that we've grappled for a long time with what the Creative Commons should be. We ended up sort of doing the non-commercial bit by allowing exports from where to be at a very kind of low resolution you can't do an awful lot with. But I think it's something that's constantly arguing with us. We're kind of just sort of following other people.
Anyone, any other questions? In which case, thank you very much, people. Thank you very much, two of you. Thank you very much to the three. Go for coffee. Please vote, because we do award a prize to these people. And then remember to come back for Developer Challenge and the closing.